this Sunday is?
It's Father's Day. That's true, right?
Oh, fuck. Well, as we the fathers of this podcast, it's also our 2-year anniversary.
Yeah, is it really?
It really is, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that's where I was going. I totally forgot Father's Day was a thing. Sorry, Dad.
As a Father's Day gift, you'd be like, look, Dad, I make podcasts.
My parents actually found out. That's a thing that happened.
Oh, it's interesting. What did they
say? I
what?
told them, but yeah. Mom was just like, Katie, why didn't you tell me? And then like called me an idiot, like in a loving way. We have I'm an only child, so Mom and I kind of talk very casually. People find that weird. Anyway, but no, Mom and Dad were impressed and then confused why that many people would like a video game. They're old. God bless them.
Well, that's good. They should be impressed, right? I mean, 20,000 plus people now.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that Mom, because she was talking about like she had found someone she liked and was donating to their Patreon, and so she was talking like maybe I should do Patreon for something so I can get some extra cash. I was like, well, Mom, I already have one. So she found me out there. So she was saying how impressed she was with me of like, you know, maybe like 70 Patreons. I'm like, no, Mom, that's not the big group. That's hold on, Mom, that's not my only thing. So it blew her mind when she saw the YouTube channel. She's like, what?
Oh wow, that's gotta be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Mom's. Yeah, that's sweet. Anyway, that's the story. So, yeah, I don't know how to segue this.
2 years. Well, hold on, 2 years. Like that's a really. I didn't even realize it had been 2 years.
I know, right? Like it has gone by both very quickly and very slowly. Like,
fuck, we're getting old, Katie. What are we gonna do?
I mean, every day is a struggle in remembering that. So, like,
I complain too much about that. It's really not all that bad.
I mean, we both do that. Well, you're also turning 30 this year, right? So it's like extra. Like this year is the year, you know?
I mean, I know it's supposed to be that way, but I'm so bad. Like I don't really do much for I don't really do anything for birthdays. I don't celebrate my birthdays. Mm-hmm. And so people continually keep asking, like, what are you doing for your 30th birthday? I got the same thing I did for the last 10 birthdays, which is really nothing.
No, man, you gotta lie. Like, now I booked a cruise. We're going skydiving. I rented out all of the escorts in Las Vegas. Like, we're going crazy.
That'll be a fun conversation with my girlfriend. What do you want to do for your birthday? I want to rent out.
No, they're for her.
That's right. That line has always worked with every girlfriend ever. It's for us, baby. It's a new experience.
Did you want a threesome? I thought you loved that. Didn't you tell me at one point that's something you wanted to try? Okay, anyway.
You know what? The next episode, I'm going to have stories to tell.
I have some questions. Given this subject matter, I don't know if we want to hear them.
Oh, okay. Man. Now we have no way to segue. We're totally screwed.
No, we're done. We can't even do booth babes because I don't think booth babes is a thing.
No, booth babes haven't been a thing for a while. People got to remember booth babes because it was only like 4 or 5 years ago when they outlawed the booth babes.
Oh, I didn't know they were outlawed.
Oh, yeah. They cracked down. They were like, we're a serious convention now.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Well, actually, it might be more than 5 years ago. I think it might be going back like... I remember there was a year, and it may have been like around 09 or 10 or somewhere around there. Maybe it's been more recent where they said like E3 is dead. It's not fun anymore. Like it's never going to survive. How's this going to, because they got rid of the booth babes and they kind of toned down the atmosphere a little bit. Mm-hmm. I don't really know if that's stuck though, because I mean, I don't know. I feel like nowadays there's probably still a lot of parties going on off site, and I don't necessarily think they have booth babes anymore, but I remember that being a thing. Everyone saying how boring E3 got.
Someone, I forgot who I saw tweeted this, but there was someone who was at E3 saying the attendance was very low this year, which was very good for them because the lines weren't as long to play the games.
Oh, Schreier tweeted that.
Oh, that's probably who I'm thinking of. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I guess Jason Schreier.
Well, I guess, yeah, we want to talk about E3 and then kind of going on to Anthem, kind of echoing our first episode. Oh, isn't this so cute? Okay, anyway.
I was going to say, we have to do a 2-year special. I guess this is kind of the 2-year special.
I guess, yeah. Maybe we can go into Dragon Age 4 stuff for like a hot minute, because that's all that really deserves at this point.
In honor of our 2-year special, we will do yet another E3 Anthem recap, and Jordan is going to buy all of the escorts in Las Vegas.
Through your donations. Thanks, everybody.
Let your mom know that's where the Patreon money's going.
I begged Mom not to listen to anything too. Like, Mom, whatever you do, don't listen to me talk. Anyway, so I guess the first thing, let's just kind of talk about our general impressions. I definitely want to go back on EA Play at one point, but man, that was a slog to get through, wasn't it? I don't know if you watched the whole thing.
EA Play. I think I watched the whole thing for EA Play, but it was real. I was really, like you said, it was just so boring towards the end of it.
The whole thing wasn't. I feel like at the beginning we were all kind of going like, maybe there's something there, so that little like whisper of a thrill that maybe something would happen kind of got you through it. But like by the time of Boring Sports Hour, you were just checked out. It was dead. And there's still like another 2 hour and a half left. It
wasn't good. And look, I wanted to see Star Wars. I was interested in that because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I think this is, it's a single player story-focused game. They've already said they're not going to have microtransactions, so there's some stuff in there that I was kind of interested in, but I thought Star Wars was kind of underwhelming, to be honest.
Weirdly enough, I thought the Star Wars did better when it was actually at the PC gaming show, or
Xbox, I think.
Xbox, that was it. I think that showed better there than the EA Play, which just tells you, like, what the fuck was that? That you had 30 minutes to promote the shit out of this game, and it kind of, like, everyone kind of had, like, a mediocre reaction to it. Like, either this game is really mediocre, or you just did a really bad job in that 30 minutes, and I don't know which one it is yet. So
yeah, I don't know what they were running it on at times, and this could totally just be a stream quality thing. I wasn't impressed with it graphically, which is really mind-blowing considering it's running on Frostbite. Mm-hmm. But it looked like exactly the same as Battlefront 2. Mm-hmm. Except maybe not quite as good. You might be able to chalk that up to stream issues, but more so than the graphics. I think I said, or maybe I tweeted out, that this looks like a PS3 game or PS4 game with like next gen filter on it, kind of a thing. Like just the way that it played when they did the double jump. As soon as I saw the double jump, I'm just like, yeah, man, it's not like 2009. Like, stop putting double jump in games, like a serious game, an arcade game. I get it, but yeah, like a non-jetpack, non-technology, just like a dude, he's got the force, so he double jumps. I wasn't feeling it. I thought the gameplay felt a little bit stale, a little bit last gen.
So I'm not I'm not a big Star Wars person, so like I guess there's that covering it. But like I wasn't impressed with it at all. Like I kind of zoned out the entire time. Maybe that's just like I am so turned off by Star Wars. So maybe that's it.
That might be it. But yeah, EA Play was boring overall.
I feel like real quick we need to go over the format. So if you missed all of E3, EA Play was 3 hours showing 6 games, 30 minutes each. And they had 30-minute slots for each game. And if the game didn't fill up that 30 minutes, which happened fairly frequently, sometimes up to like 10 minutes extra, for the first half of the show, there was just a counting down to the next 30 minutes, and it was absolutely nothing. And then I think at that point they realized that they were fucking up a bit, so they had Greg, who like, granted, apparently he wasn't supposed to be the main host. The actual main host had some medical emergency and couldn't make it, so I understand that happened. But I wasn't thrilled with him for some reasons. But
you're talking Greg from Kinda Funny?
Yeah. He came off kind of like a dick, and that annoyed me a little bit.
He's okay. It's a tough spot it's a tough spot to be in, especially if you have to do it last minute. Like every time I see a host and they're kind of bombing, or it's a little bit cringy, or just not smooth, I want to make a comment, and then I remind myself it's a tough job. Like it's tough.
I feel for him for that, because like Lord knows you couldn't pay me enough to do that, especially last minute.
Yeah.
So like I feel for him. At the same time, like I'm not going to sit here and say he did a good job. So I don't know. But like he would try to do, like, he was trying to fill up space to like varying degrees of success, and then it would just be the next 30 minutes, and it was like that for 3 hours. Versus every other EA show, it was not EA, E3 show, it was just like constant trailers, constant talk, something's going on, and they only lasted like about an hour, 2 hours. The EA Play, I think, was the longest show and easily the most boring.
Easily the worst. Yeah, so there's basically two schools of thought. You've got like the Microsoft Xbox Showcase and probably Nintendo Directs are really good at it, where they just run trailer after trailer after trailer with maybe a comment from an executive or something interspersed really quickly. And then there's the Ubisoft EA model, which is like, we're going to pack a bunch of people into a theater and we're going to treat it like a show, like a live show, and it's going to be fun. And sometimes Ubisoft likes to do musical performances, which is always cringeworthy.
Oh, yeah.
And I think those are probably the two main schools of thought. I vastly prefer the trailer reel, to be honest.
Oh, same. Because, like, I feel like with EA, if you don't like the game, you're locked into that game you don't like for 30 minutes, and it is a drag. Like the boring sports hour, where it was a full back-to-back hour of 2 different sports games. I was dying. Oh my goodness. But when you get to like the Microsoft, and there's a game you don't like, it's like maybe like 2 to 3 minutes of just sitting there going, all right, what's the next thing? And then it's over. You don't have to sit there and just constantly like, all right, what am I gonna do for 30 minutes?
Yeah, no, I think that's totally true. Do we want to keep it? So are we going to continue to dissect EA Play specifically, or do you want to give like top level stuff?
I do want to real quick dissect EA Play a little bit, because like we're talking about it, and like I just kind of want to say this piece and then toss it out of my memory.
Yes.
As I was thinking about EA Play, and I'm thinking, who put this together and thought this was a good idea? Because it was just an abysmal live stream. The more I was thinking about it, the more I was thinking the reason it was an abysmal live stream was because it was trying to be a pretty good live event. Like, if you consider this as a live event going on during the, like, actual, like, convention of EA Play, it makes so much more sense than a live stream. You know?
I agree.
Because, like, during the event, if you zoomed out, like, you saw the stage, and there was, like, a minimal, like, seating thing, and then you saw people, like, standing behind, like, a partition and, like, looking at it and whatnot. And, like, if they didn't want to, like, there's 30 minutes of that game you like, presumably, so you can go and listen to that, and then you can go try out the different booths and stuff like that. Like, that makes so much more sense now. That I almost think that they shouldn't have live streamed that thing, and that should have been a live-only event, and a live stream should have been, like, if you didn't have 30 minutes worth of trailers, that's fine. Just show us what you got, like, drop it on YouTube or whatever. We didn't need that 3 hours. Like, you wasted my 3 hours. But I feel like if I was at an event, if I was there, I don't think I would have been mad at it, you know? So I almost feel like they kind of shot themselves in the foot, because they were... It's almost like a new versus old media. They were trying to do like an older type of event, and put it on a new media, and it just didn't translate well at all.
Yeah, and I think the publishers in general are running into that. I mean, I think the Bethesda show was also slow in that way. Like, they didn't really have enough material to bring. Ubisoft runs into the same thing, whereas the platform shows, even the PC gaming show, honestly, I thought went better than EA Plays. But yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, they're trying to fill up time with, like, we've got a spectacle, we've got, whatever, a cosplay booth, we've got consoles or a kiosk set up where you can play stuff, which totally works if you're there, totally does not work if you're watching it on Twitch.
So I almost feel like, I don't know, they're gonna I think have to find a better way, and maybe like E3 in general, but definitely EA Play is gonna have to find some better workaround to, like, you can have a live event and it can be really cool and fun, or it could just be what it was last year and it works, but they can't do that live stream again, because if they do that, I don't think I would tune in, because there's, like, granted, they were very blunt at the very beginning, like, this is what we're showing, and, like, we were all hoping that maybe they'd have trailers in between, and they didn't. So, like, now that I know that's definitely not going to be a thing, I'm definitely going to check it out next year. So,
but I wonder too, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying about the balancing of live versus knowing that predominantly there's people watching, right? Like, I think that EA Play was up to like 60 or 80,000 people concurrently on Twitch and YouTube. And I mean, they don't have that many people there, right? So your audience should really be the people that are watching online. So I totally agree with that, but I also do kind of wonder, like, ultimately it's got to be about the games, right? Like, I'm trying to think, there's nothing that they showed as far as the games that they went over in EA Play that I'm excited for. The only one that I had even the slightest amount of interest in was Fallen Order, Jedi Fallen Order.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still, I'm kind of mediocre. If they showed something that I was absolutely crazy about, I would still complain about the format, but I'd be like, yeah, that was a great show. Like if they showed 15 minutes of Dragon Age 4 footage, the bad format would be an afterthought. It would be a footnote. That's
fair, yeah. But like how many people, I guess this is where you run into problems with live services, like with The Sims. I kind of like The Sims. I really do. But like when it came out, it kind of passed by me. And now, like granted, they actually just released the main game for free for a little bit there, and I picked it up, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. But like, Jordan, if perhaps on sale, that I wanted to pick up all of the DLC, I would be shelling out, and I already have the main game, $400. That's not even including anything.
Oh shit!
I can't even imagine that. I could buy 2 Switches almost, like
yeah, that's insane.
No, I'm not gonna do that. And I feel like with a lot of like DLC heavy stuff within like live services, like I don't want to get into it because I've already missed so much, and that really like bothers me. So like I'm not gonna play The Sims. Like I don't care about sports. I don't really care about Star Wars. And like I feel like EA comes into this problem where they're wanting their studios to do live services now because maybe it makes more money, but are they? I don't know. I just, when I was watching it, I was thinking like, in a couple years from now, let's say Nightmare episode happens, Dragon Age 4 is now like a long form episodic live service event thing. So there's not going to be a Dragon Age 5. They just keep adding on to Dragon Age 4. While I will like that, I imagine that going on, there's eventually going to be a drop off of players, and like what games are they going to have? Every year it's going to be The Sims, the next Maddens, maybe Anthem, a Dragon Age 4, all their live services every year after that, like year after year after year after year. Eventually there's not going to be any players. So I feel like that's a bad game strategy. And like they didn't even show any indies, like before they had like Unraveled and like a couple of other things.
Yeah.
But none of that this year. So like I feel like, I don't know.
I think they're running into a multitude of problems. Their catalog is weaker. The catalog that they have is mainly, as you said, DLC driven. And then instead of trying to sort of build around what they have, they tried to essentially cover it up, right? Like instead of having a more condensed show, an hour-long show, that maybe did like 20 minutes on Star Wars and then ran a bunch of quick hit stuff, they tried to extend it out for 3 hours, and it just made it worse. It just kind of shows that they don't really have much to bring right now.
Yeah, I think if anything, watching that would just made me think of, what does EA own? I can't, other than like obviously Bioware, sports, the Plants vs. Zombie title, Star Wars, maybe. Like, I don't know. I was sitting there, like, struggling. Yeah, what else would they show? I guess there's, like, they don't have anything.
Well, it's so crazy, right, that we're talking about them as having a lack of titles or a lack of a catalog. They have Star Wars and Madden. Like, they have the NFL, and they have FIFA. FIFA, the NFL, and Madden are 3 of the largest properties for branding, period. Not even just inside of video games. I mean, if you have that license to do anything, if you have that license to make cups, you should be the goddamn world's greatest cup maker. Like, you should not have any problem at any time putting out product with those 3 licenses. And the fact that they only have 1 Star Wars game, like people have been saying this for years, like why are they barely managing to get out Star Wars games? In particular, when you have a developer that's good at making Star Wars games in BioWare, who, it's like, might want to have them work on something other than just the Old Republic. It's really almost kind of laughable that EA is having this issue when they have major, and then on top of that, Battlefield, and they still continue to sit on the Dead Space IP without ever wanting to resurrect it. It's kind of ridiculous that this is all they have.
Yeah, so I guess that's my thing on EA Play. Like I guess what bothers me is that they didn't get what they were doing. I guess like the medium they were going for, and I'm just saying like, my God, I don't know. It just made me think that whoever did this was like an event planner for like 40 years, and so he just did whatever he did for 40 years. But like, times have changed, Mr. Johnson. Like, come on, man. I don't know. So that's EA Play. Is there what were your highlights for E3?
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
Were you about to say Keanu Reeves? Because we all know. I was going to say,
other than Keanu Reeves, Ghostwire Tokyo, woman who I can never remember her name, and the dog. Those were like the trifecta of everyone's favorite moments from E3.
I mean, we know who the stars are. Which, I mean, if you're that woman from Ghostwire Tokyo, you got to be really happy with yourself right now. You're neck and neck with Keanu Reeves.
That's true, yeah. And she was adorable.
She was great. She was fantastic.
Was there any other than like? Well, I think we can all just blanket say everyone's fucking excited for Cyberpunk. Like, was there anything you like looked at Cyberpunk and was like, yeah, I'm not as hyped anymore? Like, it didn't happen for me.
I'm not a fan. I'm not going to spend all this time complaining about it because I did the exact same thing last year. They have done the exact same strategy as last E3. They had about a 30-minute long, closed door, hands off gameplay demo for the press only. And they said they're going to release that gameplay footage sometime around Gamescom, which is August. I don't know why they do that. I think it's dumb. I know it stirred up a lot of hype the first time because no one had ever seen gameplay of Cyberpunk. Mm-hmm. So when the press saw it, they had this revelatory moment of like, oh my God, this is it. This is what this game is. Now they don't have that again. And you can tell because the previews were just buzzing when reporters got to write. It's like the old days when you were a games journalist and you got to write about something that no one had ever seen. Mm-hmm. And we were like eating it up. We were like reading all these previews going, oh my God, this is the first description of what gameplay looks like for Cyberpunk. So it kind of worked that last year. I don't think they got as much pop out of it this year. And I just really don't like it. I don't understand it. This is 2019. You want to get a bunch of people in a room and show them the thing so they can go like write a 1,000-word article and describe it? I just don't get it. Like, just stream it. Just show it. If it's ready to be shown to reporters, it's ready to be shown to everybody.
To prove to your point there, I remember them doing that last year. I had no idea they did that this year again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
I had no idea at all.
They showed a very long demo, which, again, everyone says looks very impressive. They showed the male protagonist, the default one, this time as opposed to the female one. And they did the same thing. Just they played the same mission twice and just kind of showed how different it is with different choices. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything that made me less hyped for Cyberpunk? Not exactly less hyped, but, the more times you do this, the more times you learn to kind of turn down the hype dial if you can. And I am a little... wary is too strong of a word. They're playing it close to the chest. That doesn't mean there's anything to worry about. That doesn't mean there's anything bad about it. But there are no more E3s until this game comes out, if it comes out on time. It's coming out.
That's true.
They announced the release date as April of next year, 2020. Mm-hmm. So I assume we're going to see this footage at Gamescom. That'll be a big, chunky, 20, 30-minute amount of gameplay footage. That's great, but I've heard people even describing who have seen it, they still have some questions of like, okay, we haven't really seen the open world because apparently what they showed in this one was still more of like a mission structure. And we saw last year they showed a section where you hop into a car and you drive a little bit through the open world, but it wasn't. It was still kind of like you went directly to the not to the checkpoint, to the quest marker. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have been saying, could they just show us 15, 20 minutes of someone just kind of wandering around, right? How many buildings can you actually go into? Are there vendors that are on the street where you can buy things? How much can you interact with all of these NPCs that are going to be walking around, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah, I still kind of have those sort of questions. So I would not say I'm less hyped. I would just say the hype has gotten to like a maximum level for Cyberpunk. And I'm like, okay, I'm hyped for this game, but I'm also trying to look at it in a realistic way also.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I'm really looking forward, this is probably the other highlight, minus Animal Crossing, but we don't have to talk about that. But the true hype is Animal Crossing. But Baldur's Gate 3, I'm excited for that one.
Oh yeah.
I really liked I really liked Divinity Original Sin 2. Unfortunately, that's the only Larian game I've played, but like I think they did a great job on that. And like I haven't played Baldur's Gate, but like I know like the Dungeons and Dragons RPG, era. Like I would that sounds super cool. And then the trailer was brutal, like with the it got gory. I was kind of impressed by it. I was like, oh, that looks really neat. But unfortunately there's like no gameplay or anything, and they didn't even have a release date. I don't even think they did they?
When it's ready. Yeah
So like, even though like there's probably like nothing known about it, like if it's just exactly the same as Divinity Original Sin 2 but it's set in a different world, I would still be extremely happy, you know. So I'm excited for that one for sure.
I am too. I think Larian is a phenomenal developer. I think I tweeted out, or I thought about tweeting out, I think I might have thought about it and didn't do it, that it's really telling that Larian got the nod for this while BioWare and Obsidian are still around and making RPGs. Like, you know, this is really crazy that like the people that are most known for Baldur's Gate, and I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Like, did BioWare pass on this? Like, that's the real question I'm very curious about. Did BioWare get offered this and not want to do it? Or did they get skipped over as like, yeah, it's kind of not you guys anymore. You're not really the number one. You're not first in the rotation anymore.
I don't know. I will say that like the type of game that Baldur's Gate was, at least the first two, isn't like the type of game that BioWare has been making in years now. So yeah. Also, like, my understanding of Baldur's Gate was that they made the first one, right? And the second one was made by Beamdog. Am I correct on that? I don't remember. But like they still wanted to do D&D stuff, but the licensing was too expensive or something, and that's how Dragon Age came to be. That's my understanding of it. So like maybe it's not so much like, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking it's like maybe a BioWare's too big now. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. I don't know though, so who knows?
Could be that. Yeah, it could be that, right? Or maybe just like, yeah, like you said, BioWare moved on to do something else, and so, you know, the folks in the Baldur's Gate D&D camp are just kind of like, yeah, if you guys moved on, we moved on, kind of a thing.
Yeah, so maybe they broke up and it's like a bitter relationship.
We could say, but either way, I'm excited for Larian doing it. I think they along with Obsidian, or, you know, and maybe CD Projekt Red, are probably the top RPG developers, and so, yeah, I just wish we saw gameplay, but yeah, I'm hyped for it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like my top of the show. Really, my top. I'm excited about Animal Crossing. I love Animal Crossing. I have been looking forward to a new Animal Crossing game since New Leaf. And
you can totally be excited for Animal Crossing. It's not ever been my main cup of tea, but I will say, like, because the problem is I just play too much fucking Skyrim, and you can do everything in Skyrim. So when I see people playing Animal Crossing, I'm like, give me like about 15 or 20 mods. I can have a farming simulator in Skyrim, and I can kill dragons. So I don't.
See, I like just having, like, I have really fun, New Leaf came into my life on the very last year of college, and it was, like, a very big change in my life, and so, like, New Leaf was very, very important for me to, like, here is something static that I can take around with me, and this will always be the same while everything else in my life is going super crazy, and I really, really appreciate that, and I really fell in love with the series, so I'm looking forward to having that again, especially since, like, you know, I'm getting older, so who knows what's going to happen. But like,
life is constantly in a state of flux.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about that. I also thought Luigi's Mansion 3 looked cute.
It looked great. Give it up for Luigi's Mansion.
It did. Two was kind of, so I kind of love the Luigi Mansion series. I love the first one. I have the second one. I was so disappointed in the boring design of all the ghosts, I couldn't finish it. Because like the people ghosts are like, that's it, you know, that's Luigi's Mansion, like unique little boss fight with Luigi Mansion 2 didn't have anything, like, it was just like generic ghost man. I'm like, oh, I don't give a shit. So the fact that they have that again, I was just very excited about.
While we're on Nintendo, I mean, can we just give it up for Nintendo overall? I thought that
Nintendo killed it.
They crushed it, and they're so goddamn good at getting people like me to just like play games that we should all be too old for. Like, I should be too old to play a Pokemon game, but I'm gonna play the shit out of Sword and Shield when that comes out. That looks so fucking cool when they finally showed like the actual like walking around in the field and stuff, where it's got a free camera. Because when the first footage they had, it still had like a not static, but it's like almost like an isometric view, and it kind of moves as you don't have free control of the camera. But then they're like out in the fields, like outside of the towns, you do have free control of the camera. It's like a traditional third-person game, and I'm just like, that's it. Like, sign me the fuck up. I'm fucking gonna be the Pokemon master again, just like when I was 10 years old.
Well, did you hear about the controversy surrounding it, though?
No, what happened?
Not all the Pokemon are going to be able to brought into Sword and Shield. So, like, if this is, like, your first Pokemon game in a while, no one gives a shit. But, like, for people who are, like, fucking diehard Pokemon fans, and they paid for that, like, one service that you have, it's like a Pokemon bank, and you could bring all your Pokemon from all the gens and having one nice area. Not all of the Pokemon, at least at launch, so maybe it'll change, are going to be able to be brought into Pokemon Sword and Shield. So if you have, like, a beloved, I don't know, the only Pokemon I know by not the shitty name I gave it is like Pikachu. If you have a Pikachu, and it's not in the Sword and Shield Pokédex, you won't be able to bring it in. So like, everyone was getting really mad about that. But to me, like, that sounds one of those things they're gonna patch in pretty soon. So like I don't think it's that exciting. Like at launch, that's definitely annoying. But I think give it some time and they'll all get in there.
I mean, for people like me, that doesn't bother me in the slightest. Because so I guess what you're saying is that they now have like a Dragon Age keep, like a Pokemon keep, where you can just like upsync all of your different versions of Pokemon and then download all of that into one game.
They've had a version of this for a while now. Like I remember, I think it first came out when we were in college, like junior year. So this is like 2013, 2012, something like that. So it's been out that this idea has existed for a while. I think the new one's called Pokemon Home. I can't remember. But
I mean, I remember how hard it was. I'm talking like trying to get your fucking Pokemon from red and blue onto gold and silver, and you just had to trade shit. Like I've always just accepted the fact that you kind of either have to let go of them or find an awkward way to get them onto the new one. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, for someone like me who would be jumping back in, that wouldn't bother me. But I could see how the hardcore audience would be upset.
Yeah, like it was. I'm not subscribed to the Pokemon subreddit, but I just had to see what was going on, and they were livid. And I've never seen the Pokemon fan base ever upset about anything. So it was just a joy to be like, oh man, at least someone else is getting mad. Like,
shit, they're like, ring the popo, call Officer Jenny. I'm gonna have to arrest some people.
My favorite post on there was like, oh, I'm so glad they finally announced the Sword and Shield enemy, and it was just the logo for Game Freak, the makers of Pokemon.
Oh wow!
So it was like, oh, that's.
Was it Nintendo was ruining my childhood? Did we get those comments?
I'm sure that exists somewhere in there. I didn't personally see that, but I'm sure someone has said that. How are we going to catch them all? That was like their catchphrase.
Well, first of all, there's way too many of them now, right? Aren't there hundreds?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I think right now, before Sword and Shield comes out, it's like in the upper 800s.
Get the fuck out of here. That's too many. That's too many, man. Don't do that to kids.
People fucking have it, though. Like, people have all, like, they have that 800 and the shinies, you know? So, like, which, if that's you, power to you, man. But, yeah. So, God, what else? I feel like there was another game I wanted to talk about.
I mean, Breath of the Wild with the sneak Breath of the Wild 2 announcement trailer, like, that was huge, and they just got it in there when nobody expected that they were going to announce the sequel to Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild right now, if you look it up on any of the different like Metacritic and stuff like that, it's top 5 or like one of the it is renowned for being one of the best video games of all time, right? Like most critically acclaimed video games of all time, like surpassing even like the Twilight Princess and Ocarina of Time level reputation, which is huge. And they just announced a sequel to it when no one expected them to at E3. I think Nintendo like crushed it this year.
I completely agree. I will say on Breath of the Wild, so I have not played it because I don't have a Switch. But like I was even kind of excited for that because like one of my favorite Zeldas is Twilight Princess, and like that like the glowy lights and like the sounds you heard was so Twilight Realm. I was like, Minna, my babe. I would love to see Midna again. Like I'm already getting a Switch for Animal Crossing eventually, but like I would like if Midna comes back, fuck yeah, I'm coming back in.
So I'm in the same boat as far as I haven't played Breath of the Wild because I don't have a Switch either. It's been on my list for a while to pick one of those up. But when I saw that trailer, I had the same reaction of like, this is a little bit darker than what I thought Breath of the Wild had as far as a tone. And I'm like, this looks really interesting to me. And I was texting with one of my friends. I'm like, is Breath of the Wild, do they have that kind of somewhat darker tone to the story? And he was like, yeah, in certain parts they do. And I'm like, that just makes me want to play it even more.
You gotta get yourself a Switch, man, and go
buy myself a Christmas gift or something.
Yeah. I feel like there was another game I wanted to talk about, and now I can't. I know they showed more of Outer Worlds. This is kind of what you're looking forward to. I don't know if you saw anything else with that.
I liked it. I mean, that's all I can really say. Every time I see more of that game, I like it. I'm so glad we have the announcement now, and I can't even remember as I'm talking about it. November, I think, or October this year.
To be honest, I think it was in the PC gaming show, wasn't it? Or
they showed it. No, they showed it at the beginning of the Xbox conference.
Oh, okay. Which
was like really like. Good on them, man. Like Obsidian has been saying for a while now, like, this is not, because they're working on another title following the acquisition by Microsoft that I assume is going to be an Xbox exclusive. So that's like their big budget title that's going to be coming next. They keep saying about Outer Worlds, like, yeah, this was like, sort of like not quite AA, not quite AAA, but just don't expect, like we had to have a lot of time and budget, restrictions here. We're trying to be as creative as we can. But every time I see that game, I'm like, looks like a AAA title to me.
People were saying that it plays a lot like Fallout New Vegas, but in space, and to which everyone's like, perfect.
Brilliant.
Love it. So, we'll see. So I missed half of the PC gaming show and also the VR show, but who has a VR headset? Not me. Anyway, but Vampire Masquerades keeps looking more and more interesting. I'm not really a vampire person, but like, I don't know. Maybe I'd be into that. Bring out my 8th grade emo phase, and we can have some fun with that.
I mean, I hear it's got a good story, right? I mean, that's one of the things that people like about that.
Yeah, people actually keep asking us to play that on Codex Added. That would be something I would be interested in, because like if it's like stupid and campy, I'm into it. I'll be a stupid campy vampire. Are there mods to make me sparkly? I'd make a joke.
Oh man,
vampires are just ruined for me after Twilight. I'm sorry, I can't handle it anymore. But no, I don't know. I'm interested in that. So it's one of those things like I'm keeping an eye on. I think after that though, I can't even remember anything else that I was interested in. Like, everyone loves Helen, the badass grandma from Watch Dogs, but I'm not going to play that game. I just liked Helen.
Yeah, that's just like a meme to me. Like, I'm really...
Yeah. I will definitely enjoy videos and memes coming out of that, but like, I'm not going to play it because I just don't really like that type of game. But can we just have like a moment of silence? Not really, but like the lack of fantasy RPGs. I think the only one was Baldur's Gate, and I think there was like another one, like isometric 3D pixel one that I can't remember the name now, and I feel bad. But like after that, silence. if you like fantasies and specifically fantasy RPGs, sorry, man.
I mean, I don't know. Do you like JRPGs? Because fucking Square Enix.
Forgot. Yes, the whole Square Enix. I was like, okay, I get it. Dragon's Quest, Final Fantasy. What else do you got?
I mean, holy shit, man! Like, yeah, like they really Final Fantasy, folks. Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy.
Like, I don't mind I have some fond memories of Final Fantasy. Squall was like my first little crush when I was a wee baby. But I say baby, I was like 12. Anyway, but I don't know. It's something about JRPG just seems not my cup of tea anymore, you know?
Yeah, it's never been my cup of tea, really. I'm really not a fan of I mean, technically Pokemon counts as a JRPG, kind of, but not like in the animes. Like, otherwise, I mean, like, yeah, I've just never really been a fan. I like Western RPGs. That's what I like.
I think, this is like a whole issue, but I think my reason why I'm not into JRPGs is that for the most part, like, the characters are like, oh, I'm the oldest of the group. I'm 18, you know? Like, like everyone feels like a kid.
Sure, yeah.
And when I was a kid, that was awesome, but now as like an adult, I, like, feel weird.
Yeah.
And, like, everyone looks so cute and young, and I feel weird about it. At least with Dragon Age, even though the warden's supposed to be 18, 20, like, they look more adult-like, or you can make them more look adult-like. Or, like, Alistair, you know, like, he looks like an adult. So, like, I don't know. It's less jarring than, you know, the immortal 12-year-old child dragon lady looking at you, Fire Emblem, you creepos. But...
Yeah, I think that's part of it for sure. And then for me also, I like subtlety. I like muted colors and like sort of like
I also don't. I also like it when characters' heads turn or they blink and go, oh, yeah, like every fucking
just
time.
constantly.
Shut up.
Just constantly, and then when they get hit, they got the anime scream.
Yeah, like that bullshit. Like.
That's so true. Yeah, no, just everything is heightened. Everything is just like up to 11 in a JRPG, and I just can't do it. I want to make shit look more naturalistic and more sort of like low key. And so yeah, give me like a historical RPG, and I'm happy.
Which I will say that's almost like modern. At least now we're just talking about anime. Modern anime. I think like anime from like the 80s, 90s era kind of had a good mix of like it's cutesy but realistic enough to not be fucking weird. Anyway, that's my. I have a lot of problems with anime.
If you want to talk anime, I'm not deep in the anime scene, but Kids on the Slope is one of my favorites, and I feel like you just described like that more subtle, like modern, so to speak.
Well, like Cowboy Bebop is like such a classic, and look how like everyone looks like an adult minus like the kid, because it's a kid, you know. Right. Like the dog is very realistic drawn, like it looks really nice, and now you got like I know. Puella Magi Magic or whatever, it was really popular, but like I couldn't get into it because everyone's like cutesy pootsy, which I granted that was like a part of the story, whatever. But like, anyway, this is a whole other thing. We're talking about Anthem now, because we have to get to that. So if you don't care about Anthem, recently they announced that they're going to be doing this new live event called the Cataclysm. It's going to be coming in a couple weeks, but if you're on PC, you can download the public test server or the PTS to try out a like early version of this thing and give feedback. So Jordan, I told you to download it like I think 2 days ago. So I wanted to ask you your experience on it.
I mean, I didn't play it. I could never get it to work. I mean, I got the public test server up, and I'm logged into the test server. I'm like, okay, great, but there was no way to actually queue up the Cataclysm mode event. I'm not sure. And when I went into free play, which said that there would be Cataclysm events, I flew around forever, and I'm like, I'm not exactly sure what's supposed to be happening. So I looked up a little bit of it and just kind of watched some of the gameplay so I could kind of get an understanding of it. But why don't you give the folks kind of an overview quickly of what is Cataclysm exactly?
Like in the game world or like the gameplay?
Yeah, I guess just the gameplay so that people kind of understand it. It's like time-based.
So I feel like I'm not the person... I'm just going to tell my story of how this happened to me and then like the videos that I had to watch afterwards. So I got the public test server as soon as it came out, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I booted up. So it's actually like two different installs. It's like a different install than Anthem. You're not really playing on your account. They just like give you a whole bunch of money and gear or whatever, so you can just make what your old thing was. And like there's a couple new things. Like apparently there's going to be a new seasonal store. There's a new area for the prison. You got to meet Casey Hudson, whose name I can't even remember. Was the like I remember our shitty name for the guy, Grandmaster Adams. That's it. He was there and he was talking to you and whatnot. So like there's apparently like a little storyline that's like kind of half put into the game, which I thought was interesting. If you have your subtitles on, you can actually read what they're supposed to be saying, but only Faye's line are in the game. So like for me, Faye was just like talking intermittently. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So anyway, but you talk to Grandmaster Harkin. I'm not going to go into the story stuff. There's a story thing that no one cares. So I boot up in the Cataclysm. And you're in like this protective bubble, and there's like this storm outside. And I say with the storm, like people are making fun of like, oh, it just tints your screen blue, and there's like some like a little bit of weather effects. It wasn't even rain, which I thought was interesting. I think if they just added some rain in there, it would do a lot of good. So I don't know if that's like coming later or what. But you're in a protective bubble, and you go out into the world, and then here began all of my troubles.
Oh boy.
So when you're in the blue area, there's like a little like meter of shield you have. And the longer you're out there, the shield goes down. And then eventually, if it goes down all the way, you have like, I think a few seconds to try to find shelter, and then you're dead. The problem is that like, I don't know if like there's supposed to be voice lines in it that explain these things. But I didn't know what to do. And so I was flying around looking for shelter, and I couldn't find anything. And like when you get in there, it has like a couple markers of like things to do. So I was trying to do the markers, but I couldn't figure out what to do because I kept dying. And then like it started glitching, where like the things that I had done were saying they were done, but they were not done, and so it weren't complete. It was like this really weird thing. And at this point, I've been playing for like an hour of just like trying to experiment, like what's going on to keep dying. Like I am dying after dying after dying after dying. I don't know what's going on. And so I just pull out and try to like, I was like asking people like, what do I do? And they're saying, oh, well, there's like this red sphere, and if you like hit it or fly into it, it creates like a bubble for a little bit of time that's protected. I'm like, I had no idea that existed. And it's like I was flying around. Yeah, so I don't know. And like, so then cue me going in again. I now know this bubble exists. So I go and I find the bubble, which I should also say that I'm not the only one who had this, because there's like, you know, you get in there and there's like 3 other people on your team. And
nobody knew where to go.
No one knew what to do. Like, we're all dying. Like, what the fuck would we do? Which was funny. Actually, I went... I was playing on hard the first time, so it's like, well, let's dumb it down easy just to get the mechanics right. So I get on there easy, and like 2 of the guys that I was in like the hard mode with were on easy with me. I'm like, oh, this is weird. There's like maybe 5 people here. Like, I was randomly matched with the same 2 people. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it is.
Yeah. Eventually, one of them kind of figured it out, but it was like on a team of 3. Which we never got a 4th, which I thought was strange. I had no idea what to do, so I'm trying to figure out what to do. One of them clearly knows exactly what to do and is doing all the puzzles for us. And then this is also puzzles that you can't solve alone. You have to have a team. So he would just say like point or shoot, like here, go here. We would do that. He would solve it, and then he would just fly off. And then I think the other guy was better following him than I was. But at one point, I don't know where I am. I die. I get transported into the middle of the final boss fight, which I didn't know there was a final boss. So I don't know what's going on. And then, like, it dies, T-poses, and my game crashes.
Oh, good Lord.
And that was my Cataclysm experience.
Okay. Wow.
So... I don't know what happened.
Is there anything there? Because my experience was even shorter than yours. I basically just wandered around trying to feel like, how do I start this goddamn thing? And I couldn't really get into it. So I didn't really have a Cataclysm experience. But this could easily, just based on what you described, this could easily turn into us just saying like, good Lord, what a mess. Anthem. Breaking news, people. Anthem is still a mess. But what's there, right? Like, is there something there that could be interesting if they could just like get some UI elements to, you know, or voiceover done to explain what you're supposed to be doing? I mean, does it seem like that's an interesting gameplay type?
I feel like from what I played, there is I can't really give a good
there's just not
on
enough.
that, because like, what did I play? I just died the whole time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I ended up looking up a couple videos of people who knew what the fuck they were doing. And like, there was all these things I didn't know were there. Like, there was a couple new, like you were saying, you were flying around and couldn't find any events. There was like new events with the Cataclysm, and something about crystals growing in places they shouldn't. There was a whole mechanic where there's like a new map area where like the Cataclysm is, and you have to solve it. And there's like different areas to unlock, so it's kind of like in stages. It sounded like the boss fight apparently needs a lot of reworking and whatever, but it was like a cool new monster. There's not a lot of new enemies that people are complaining about, but there's new like little secret areas where if you do a puzzle right, it unlocks a new portal, I guess, and you fly into the portal, and if you do a couple of objectives within time, you get chests, and they don't really know what's in the chest yet, but or what's going to be in the final game. So I feel like there is something there, but I couldn't figure out how to play it, you know, like, and I feel like that's not I'm not the best gamer, and I don't know what the hell's going on half the time, but I couldn't figure out how to play. You know, right. I'm not a complete idiot, but like, I couldn't figure out how to do it. You know, like, that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And you really need to have a team with it. There's going to have to be a better way of telling people like me who don't know what's going on what to do. Otherwise, it's going to be a bad idea. Now, eventually, it's probably going to be like, you know, given enough time, we're all going to figure it out. But those first couple weeks, if it is exactly like how I played it, are going to be fucking brutal.
Yeah, well, it doesn't sound good, and you're definitely not alone, because some of the videos that I did watch were very similar to people like going into it and going like, okay, there's a storm, there's this first bubble you can kind of get protection in, but after that, what am I doing? I think everyone has kind of had that experience. At least, well, not I don't want to say everyone, but from the accounts that I have either seen or heard, your account of it is not unusual.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think my biggest thing was like a lot of things in Anthem was like it has an arrow go here. So when the Cataclysm starts, there was 3 of them, and one of them was like, this is the more important objective. So I went towards that. That apparently wasn't where you're supposed to go first. So that I think maybe threw me off. So like maybe that's just like a UI bug or something like that, or like I don't even know what. So like maybe if it had told me go here, go this other place first, and I actually went there, then maybe things would turn out completely different. But like given what is, and I think a lot of people, like you were saying, had this exact same thing. I was just left kind of confused, and I played it for maybe about 2 hours, and I called it quits. Because I just didn't know what to do. And I did boot it up today just to kind of like look around and refresh myself. And yeah, I don't know, man. People are saying like, is this going to bring Anthem back or whatnot? Like, I think it's going to give some people something to do for a while. Yeah. But it needs something else, like This isn't something to come back to Anthem to, at least how I played it. Maybe it's completely different when it actually launches, but it has been quite a long time since I booted up a game and was that confused, Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I can say for my brief experience with it, same, because I really couldn't understand like how you even get into it. So talking about, is this what's going to bring Anthem back? Sounds like no, but one other kind of E3 related thing that we can sort of tie into Anthem, Fallout 76. Good. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Good Lord, right? And I think you were the one that put it in your Discord that if Fallout 76 can make this kind of comeback, why can't Anthem? Something like that. Mm-hmm. Which I thought was a really good point, because for the first time when they made those announcements for Fallout, which is like actual NPCs, like actual characters are going to be back in the game, fully voice acted. They're going to have a new storyline coming up. Don't forget Battle Royale mode. I don't give a crap about Battle Royale mode, but you're right. Has, but you're right. There's somebody out there who wants it. But yeah, those two things, like, okay, that's like an actual Fallout game again. I might actually want to play Fallout 76. Those are words I never thought that I would say, and I might actually be interested in that. I think that's possible, right? Obviously for Anthem, it's possible, but right now I'm just not seeing where that's going to come from. I mean, granted, like Anthem came out how many months ago? Compare that exactly 1-to-1 76. Right. Would you have even said? No, you wouldn't. So, I do think there will come a point when Anthem's going to have something really cool and people kind of get drawn back into it a little bit more. Yeah. I just think this just isn't that update. So yeah, and they still have a lot of bug fixes to do. Like I'll say that PTS build was very buggy, so I really hope they. Like, everyone remembers, I had the magical computer where I had no bugs, and I was getting bugs with the PTS server, so something to keep in mind. Yeah. Which I should say, when I booted up today to try to play around, the game also crashed. I was just looking at, like, Prospero store, and I was like, oh, I have coin. I remember if I could buy something with it, so I buy something. I try to buy something else, and the game's like, we're done. So I'm like, okay, that's my report for the day, then. So, yeah, it's... I don't know. I don't know how to feel on it, because I think I'm getting my emotions in the way, and like you see these developers and like they're working so hard, and the reaction is so bitter to look lukewarm that I feel bad for them. At the same time, I don't think other than the crazy fans who are like saying, it ruined my life, I want a refund even though I bought it 6 months ago. Like, all right, so you're all there. But like I feel like, people have a right to not want to play this game. Like, after the Elysian chest ended, I haven't really touched it because like there's nothing for me to work on. Right. So I don't know. Yeah, that's that. So besides the Anthem update,
I guess the only other thing that I can think of that's really, directly BioWare related is we kind of knew we weren't going to get anything for Dragon Age 4. The signs kind of pointed to that for this E3. When do you think we will next hear something from BioWare or see something from BioWare about Dragon Age 4?
I don't know. Here's the thing. Like, I did not, other than after Casey Anthony had that.
You said Casey Anthony again. You keep. Why
do I do that?
Because Casey Hudson is killing your dreams.
Why is Casey Anthony's name just embedded in my mind?
God damn it, Katie! Now we're never gonna be one of the EA Uber Club. What are they called? Cool kids.
Oh, the Game Changers.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We keep comparing Casey Hudson to a.
Well, not comparing. It's just my brain's an asshole. Oh,
Casey. Anyway, go on, Casey Anthony. We can't make that his nickname.
We can't, no, because everyone's going to be confused. Mostly because that's such an old esoteric reference that no one's going to actually understand it. His last name's actually Hudson. So anyway, I was going to say Casey now. Casey, he had that blog post where he says, "Oh, look for Dragon Age in the next month," and then the Game Awards thing happened. I did not expect them doing that until well after Anthem was released. If you would have asked me in October or something, when do you think our first look at Dragon Age is going to be? I'm well, they're probably gonna release Anthem and give that enough time to heal. So I would have said E3 2020 or 2020. So I guess I'm still on that, but are they gonna do something for the Game Awards again? I don't know. They might. So yeah, I really don't know. I guess my go-to would be E3 2020, having something out, and then maybe a release date of 2021. But
yeah,
and that's a maybe, So
it feels oddly in flux because there were stories coming out about Joplin versus Morrison, and so there was a whatever you want to call it, a soft reboot, a restart, or whatever. We don't even know what the right term is to use anymore for whatever happened.
Oh. Can I? Okay, sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, go ahead.
But so I had that video come out recently about just summing up all of the old news for Dragon Age into one solid area, so people who are just coming back to the series be what's been happening for the past year?
Yes.
Here's all that. So in one thing's it was, well, the American version came out in August, but I guess the Greek article came out at the very last day of July 2018. The American article was a bunch of bullshit. We're not even going to talk about it. But the Greek article, it was from IGN Greek, and they reported, from what I gathered from Google Translate, was that they had an anonymous source say that they worked on something from BioWare, but it wasn't Mass Effect or Anthem. It was something fantasy, so it's Dragon Age. And they did some voice work for it. So I essentially reported on that, and then this is how I think what happened. So I had someone on Twitter, who was very nice, and they were very awesome, and they actually translated the Greek into English, so I could read it in an actual translation and not terrible Google Translate.
Uh-huh.
To which I retweeted that, and they tagged IGN Greece, who I think from that they did say thanks for the translation or whatever, and I think from that got to my video. So the guy who wrote the IGN article commented on my video, further clarifying what was said, and at least his comment to me, this is really convoluted, I'm so sorry, his comment to me said, I just want to clarify, which he was kind of upset with me that I didn't email him asking for a translation, which I didn't know that was a thing you could do and not be an asshole for.
Sure, yeah.
So, yeah. But he was saying okay, well, I'm just going to actually read the quote real quick, because I think this is one of those things you should quote him on.
Right, you were trying to get an English translation of an article, and you had no way of knowing that you could reach out to the writer directly and actually get a response, and so you just went about it another way.
Essentially, yeah. Who was I to know that I could...
Sure, yeah, and then from his standpoint, I'm sure as a writer, he's going well, I can tell you what I said for what was said to me.
Yeah, I totally get why this happened, and I'm not upset with him, and I hope he's not upset with me, because I'm not a journalist. I don't know these things.
Yeah.
Okay, I finally have the thing up. Okay, so, An anonymous source who worked as a voice actor for Bioware has confirmed that the voice acting has been completed for a future game of the company. When asked if the game it's typo here, it's Anthem or a new Mass Effect, the answer we got is that the new game belongs to a renowned series that takes place in a medieval setting. Voice acting completed. What? and assuming that this is what he said in late July 2018. That like makes no sense compared to like everything else we've been talking about. Like everything else we know about Dragon Age 4.
Right.
To which I asked him, is this a part of like the Joplin Morrison thing? And he essentially said like, well, we talked to him after that reboot, so probably not Joplin. So I guess that's, now we're going into Dragon Age 4 speculation. But yeah, that's interesting. I don't really know what to make of it, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it either. I mean, it could always just be that actors are unreliable. I mean, I know that's kind of a generality, but it's just like they say things offhandedly like, oh yeah, voice acting's done. They might have been brought in to do a small section of the voice acting and they got wrapped and there's still way more left to be done, or there's a whole bunch of different reasons. I'm not saying that the IGN article is poorly sourced or that it's wrong. It just, sometimes actors aren't necessarily the best source.
Yeah, and like I was actually talking to someone about this who like, you know, kind of works in the game industries, and they said another thing that said like, well, you know, it could also be that like they want to get some initial voice acting to animate with, so they can do stuff like that, you know, or if they were mocapping, you got to get that pretty early so you can put all the cool stuff on top of it, you know. So right. Like there's a whole levels of what this could be, but like I think that at least signifies a little bit of how far, you know, this thing is, you know, like just a little bit. And I think another interesting fact is like they went to IGN Greece, you know, so like this is probably a Greek actor who, which probably is maybe like a side character, because I feel like for the most part, I don't know, I just can't see like someone who like is a major character going forward to like a news article like that. Maybe that's just me being naive though. I don't know. So that happened. But yeah. Yeah,
I think we could still. I think it is honestly still going to be a while before we see more from Dragon Age. I think honestly, the more we look back on it, and there have been some crazy rumors and conjecture about that Game Awards teaser trailer and why we got that apparently so early. Mm-hmm. I don't know that any of the stuff that's been floated out there is true, but I think when we look back on it, there's going to be some kind of story behind why we got that reveal at the Game Awards when we did.
Yeah.
Because I honestly don't think that. Honestly, I would be disappointed, but not entirely shocked if we went through all of E3 next year and still didn't see it.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong about that, but I have a sinking feeling that Dragon Age 4 might still be a little bit further away than any of us would really like.
Well, the Schreier article said 2 to 3 years, yeah. So
yeah,
it wouldn't be within that. It would still be within those bounds, like if we didn't get anything next year. So I'm kind of hoping for the 2 years.
I mean, I hope it's just as soon as fracking possible, man. I want more Dragon Age. It's 2014 when Inquisition came out.
I thought you were going to say that 2014 was like the current year, and I was like, oh, Jordan, we have something to talk
about. Jordan, you've been trapped in a time loop.
Woohoo! Sorry, man.
Which, by the way, there was a couple of time loop games at E3 that both look really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that 12 minutes one really.
That's not my cup of tea, but good on them. It looked like an interesting premise. But I guess that's all I have for today then. I don't know if there's anything you want to quickly throw in there.
No, I think we covered it pretty well. BioWare just didn't really have a very strong presence at E3, but I don't know. Hopefully that changes next year. Otherwise, we'll just keep being excited for Cyberpunk, I guess.
Yeah, next year's going to have like a lot of cool games coming out.
The new consoles should be really showing in force as well. So
I don't care about new consoles. But, which, hold on, real quick. That's only like gives me the fear of God, because Inquisition suffered because it was trying to straddle 2 consoles. If they do that again, God help Dragon Age 4.
Yeah, hopefully they learned that lesson and they won't repeat it.
Yeah, seriously. But Anyway, I guess that's all I have. Man, it's been a while since we did one of these, huh? How do we end this? Where do they find you, Jordan?
They find me at the Exalted March on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Instagram. Where can the folks find you, Caitie?
Ghildirthalen on YouTube. And on Reddit's Gillanon. God, who am I, Jordan? I don't know who I am anymore.
It's been a long week. It's been a lot of stuff going on.
It's been a long year so far. God, I can't believe it's already June. Fuck. Okay, anyway. And yeah, that's who we are, aren't we? Have a good day. Dirge to roll. Goodbye.
This is what happens when you record one at night.